Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Andrew Harris, who is Director of Business Development at ACS. In his role there, he combines his skills as a senior instrumentation and controls engineer with active involvement in business development. Using his proficiency in platforms like Allen Bradley and Siemens, he orchestrates PLC system lifecycles while identifying and pursuing new business opportunities. In fact, he has successfully implemented diverse systems from 8,500 horsepower dyno test cells to manufacturing line installations. Andrew also oversees the training and supervision of controls engineers at ACS's Michigan office, ensuring a seamless integration of technical expertise and strategic business development. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get started and then ultimately end up where you are now?
From an early age, I started in robotics in high school with the first robotics program. And that's really what drove me to pursue that field. So I went to Kettering University, which used to be GMI. At that time, I had no idea about controls, right? I just knew robots are cool. And I landed a co-op, and that co-op, I was an industrial engineer. I was expecting to do something in quality, and I just landed at a place that I was doing manufacturing lines. My project was, hey, we have this production line. It showed up with no PLC code. No one here knows how to write PLC code. Good luck. And 2 years later, we got a running production line. And from there, I started integrating robots into everything and never looked back.
So you are at ACS. Tell me a little bit about ACS, what you guys do there, how the company began, how it's evolved. Just give me the whole story.
So we started as a spinoff of an architectural firm, and we started doing the construction and integration of these buildings. Well, these buildings often have a lot of equipment, right? We really started in the diesel test space, right? So we were testing diesel engines in test cells. So we'd have to build the control systems to deliver fluids, fuel, oil, and cool it and allow the unit under test or engine to run. Over time, this experience, right, we had controls engineers, we have integration engineers, and we just started expanding. So we quickly moved from test cells into test automation, and from test automation into more general industrial automation. Nowadays, we're doing a good mix of projects across multiple industries. So aerospace, automotive, food, bev, and gov. And it could be a test cell today, and tomorrow I might be integrating robots, and the diversity is awesome.
I mentioned in the intro that you are in the Michigan office, which I guess means that there's other offices. So tell me about what other offices there are, how big is the organization, that sort of thing.
So ACS is about 120 people. So we have about 85 to 90 people in our headquarters in Verona, Wisconsin. So Verona, Wisconsin, this is our primary engineering facility as well as our manufacturing facility. We have a full UL 508A panel shop. We have a bunch of CNC machining, full fabrication, welding. We bring in raw components and finished products go out, right? So we do it all in-house. There's no outsourcing. We bring in all the DIN rail, we bring in the relays, we build the panels ourselves. We do all the weldments. We'll mount the panel on the weldment, install it, and commission it all right here. We'll bring customers out. They'll see the full running product before it even hits their facility.
Tell me a little bit more about what's unique about how you approach a project.
So with our background really starting in construction and moving towards industrial automation, we have a real broad view of the project. We really care about the inputs and outputs of the system. We care to make sure that it's fully integrated to the facility and not losing sight of the full scope. today I might be building a palletizing robot, but I still need to think in that mindset, right? What's coming in, what's going out, making sure everything fits. And it gives us a real holistic view to the process.
Do you think your customers, I assume your customers return to you project after project. If that's the correct assumption, why do you think that they do?
I think a lot of it is our culture. We're not happy till our customer's happy, right? We're going to do everything we can to make sure they're happy with the final product. We're not running out of budget and saying, oh, that's all we got. See you later. We're there till the end, and we're always going to make sure they're happy. The repeat customers are such the core of the business. It's always about making them happy and ensuring their needs are met.
Give me an example. Tell me about a project that was maybe super challenging and what you did to solve the customer's problem.
Earlier, you mentioned that 8,500 horsepower dyno cell. So that is locomotives. 8,500 horsepower is a lot of power. So the dynamometer, once they start getting to that size, they're expensive, long leads. So we worked with the customer to pull the alternator off the production line, put the alternator at the end of the test cell, and take the voltage current measurements off that alternator and create a load profile off of that, so that we were able to create a very cost-effective, it's not necessarily a dynamometer, but it's a load control system, right? We're not able to motor the engine, but we're able to analyze the power it's creating, and it made such a cost-effective application for a truly high-cost environment.
What advice would you give to a customer or prospective customer who maybe is researching you versus a competitor? Well, not you, but your company versus a competitor.
I think one thing to keep in mind is the whole plant integration. If we take a step back, why are we doing projects in general? It really comes down to we're trying to improve production flow, we're trying to solve a pain point, or we're trying to improve informatics and data analytics. So we need to start at the beginning of what is the problem and is the proposed solution going to fix it? So we try to really take a real holistic approach. We receive an RFQ. Great. We can quote exactly that RFQ if you want, but let's take a step back and have a talk, right? Let's talk about what your problem is, what you're trying to solve, and let's make sure that what we're going to do is going to meet that for you. You got to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Sometimes there's more to it than just delivering a robot or a conveyor, right? You really need to make sure that what we're doing is going to solve their needs.
Hey there. I'm interrupting this program with an update that, if I'm being completely honest, most people won't really care about. But hear me out. CSIA recently launched a brand new website, and it looks pretty cool. Of course, I would say that because I led the project, and I'm really only mentioning it because the site has a brand new open forums feature, sort of like a Reddit for system integrators and those who love them. For now, this online discussion forum is for CSIA members only. It's free, and anyone with a CSIA member company can participate, but you do need to sign up. Don't worry, it's super easy. Just go to www.controlsys.org/forum and subscribe to the topics you're interested in. After you log in, of course. And if you need help with that, check the FAQs. We made sure there was a lot of material there because everyone knows an engineer loves a DIY. See you on the interwebs. What are some of the challenges that your customers are facing right now?
There's a big problem right now with a retiring workforce, both on the engineering side and on the manufacturing side. Oftentimes, that's on the engineering side specifically, right? There's a lot of siloed information, right? That people who have been around for, their entire lifetime in the workforce are retiring, and they're taking a lot of this information with them. Sometimes things get lost, right? And it causes headaches, it causes confusion, right? Why is this thing not working? Well, apparently this guy who just retired has been poking this button once a day and that makes it work. So it's really understanding that it's a real thing, right? There's a large amount of the workforce that's going to retire. That's going to cause needs for, new creative solutions, more robots, more conveyors, more ways to get that product built and out the door.
It always reminds me of back when computers first came out and we used floppy disks. You'd have like this super like high tech at the time computer. And the way you could eject a floppy disk was you unravel a paper clip and stick it in this tiny little hole. Do you know what I mean? Like the contrast between what your troubleshooting and problem solving solution is, which is super low tech compared to like this big high tech. That's what I imagine with all these guys. With that little bit of knowledge, you got to use the paper clip, man. You know? What kinds of trends and challenges are you seeing in industrial automation right now?
I'm seeing a lot more OEMs in the US being really more cognizant about cybersecurity and industrial safety, right? So functional safety, ISO 12100. There's a lot more people inside the US starting to understand that these are necessary things and they're not afterthoughts. If at the very end of the project, you're like, hey, is this thing safe? Well, if you get to the very end of the project and now you're asking that question, the answer is probably no. You got to start it from the very beginning and, design with cybersecurity in mind, as well as, people safety. Everyone wants to go home at the end of the day, right? It's a good trend to see more and more people concerned about that, right? Gone are the days of, let's just throw a fence around it and stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I think AI is only we're going to have to double down on it, right? It's
for sure
creating havoc everywhere. What makes you optimistic about the future of the automation industry?
This kind of doubles back to the problem too. With a retiring workforce, there's a significant need for more automation. There's not enough workers currently to refill all those positions, right? So automation's here to help fill those roles, right? Make people more efficient. So, if you can't get more people, well, let's make people more efficient. And automation seems to fit that bill.
So if a customer is looking to hire a system integrator, what advice would you give them about choosing an integrator to work with?
Yeah, I think a big thing is to look at a project history, a portfolio from the integrator, as well as, assessing their capability within the industry. There's so many diverse industries out there, right? There's going to be someone who's a specialist at this doodad that you make. There's so much out there, right? So it's looking to find someone who meets what you need. We all want to work with people we like, right? So you want to find a company that's a culture fit with your company as well. It makes things more seamless.
What are your favorite kinds of projects and why?
I like multi-robot cells, right? Sure, I can do end-of-arm tooling that can let that one robot do a lot. But first, I think of it like a dance, right? When you got a bunch of robots moving around together, working on a unit under test or a part, or you're building something, right? It's just so cool. It's so rewarding, right? You start with a piece of paper showing some wires going somewhere, and you end with this robot moving quickly around and building something. It's just so rewarding to see that. And, all the coordination that goes into that. It's just awesome when you get to the end and it all works.
If you could pick a dream project, sky's the limit, what would the project be and why?
It's 100% lights out assembly. That's the dream of automation, right? Is that we don't need people in the line, right? We can turn the lights off. The robot will do it what it needs. The conveyors will move the parts and the part goes from beginning to end. That'd be a dream job. That'd be so much fun.
Is there a particular industry that you love, like aeronautics, or you mentioned trains earlier, or I don't know, whatever else there is out there? Is there a particular industry that you really love?
Yeah. Right. I'm based out of Michigan. I love the automotive industry. I grew up in that space. I've always been around it. And the automotive industry always has my passion. Fast cars are always fun.
Absolutely. So switching gears completely, if you had to choose a totally different career, what would you choose?
I'd probably go into law. Yeah.
That's the first time I've had anybody say that. I've heard a lot of repeat answers, but that's the first time lawyer came up. Tell me why.
It's the attention to detail. It scratches that intellectual itch. That's why we do engineering. That's why so many of us are motivated to build things, right? It's looking at something holistically, looking at it top down and in super detail. Law has that as well, right? And it has it to a higher degree, but it's such a translatable skill set. And I feel it would scratch that same intellectual need.
What's the best advice you could give your younger self? So I feel weird even asking this question because I mean, you're not that old to be like questioning your decisions. But what's the best advice you could get your younger self just getting started?
Every roadblock is a building block. The more challenges you face and the more you take on, the stronger your foundations get and the more you can do.
Love that. Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you're interested in learning more about Andrew or ACS, you can find them on the Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Andrew, for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.